So, our first and only review of the day is going to be for the film All the President's Men here. All the President's Men, classic film from the 70s here, starring Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman here. This movie is directed by Alan J. Polka there. This movie, we are reviewing this in honor of Robert Redford, who just recently passed away there, passed away at the age of 89. This was a very classic film, one of the many classic films that Robert Redford had, amongst the many we listed before: The Sting, Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid, amongst many, many others there. I had never seen this movie before, so I'm glad it won the poll that we put up. Neal mentioned he's never seen a Robert Redford movie before, so this was also something new for him. And what is this movie about? Well, it's a biographical film here, a political thriller there, all about the Watergate scandal, the scandal that involved President at the time, Richard Nixon there. So you had these journalists, Bernstein and Woodward. You had Dustin Hoffman, who's Bernstein, and you had Robert Redford, who's Woodward there, who are these two journalists who teamed up to break this legendary, iconic story there. Can you actually believe that? A president being taken down for some crimes? It seems kind of crazy when you think this is science fiction. It's some good science fiction we got here. But yes, so that's what you got here. So it's just reporters. You're seeing them doing reporter things. You're seeing them on taking notes. You're seeing them on typewriters. You're seeing them interview people. You're seeing them follow up on on different leads and things like that. So that's basically what this whole movie is about, breaking one of the biggest stories in all of journalism. Neal, what are your thoughts here on All the President's Men?
So you are right that this is the first Robert Redford movie I'd seen, and I think Robert Redford is great in this. Him and Dustin Hoffman play two reporters who are just very diligent and just very talented at their job. And what surprised me the most about this movie is just how meticulous everything is. This is definitely a procedural movie in every sense of the word, where everything about the movie is about how the story is broken, how these two work together, and how the entire Watergate scandal unfolds. It's a really fascinating movie, just not only from a historical perspective, but also an artistic one, because you just see how intertwined every little detail is, and how it all culminates in the eventual resignation of Richard Nixon. It's a fascinating movie, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And there's been movies that have come out that have been compared to this movie, some more modern day versions of it. You probably already know what movie I'm going to bring up there.
Mhm.
And that would be Spotlight. There is the movie that people brought in. This movie came out, 2015. So this was 10 years ago this movie came out. But this was all about another biographical film there about reporters. And then in this movie, they're breaking the case of the Catholic Church scandal, and what was going on there. So that was pretty huge there as well. And when this movie came out, I remember a lot of people going, "This is the modern day All the President's Men. This is just like All the President's Men." There, it has that kind of feel. And I was like, I mean, I've heard of the movie, but I've never seen it, so I don't really know what the fuck you're talking about. So I had that kind of feeling. But do you think that's kind of like a more updated version there of All the President's Men Spotlight?
Definitely so. I mean, the scandal's more contemporary, and it's a bit more heartfelt with the nature of that scandal. But the pieces are all there. Both movies are very sort of deliberate in how all the information is gathered by the reporters and how it's presented to the viewer. It's all very. Both movies are very kind of down to earth and very meticulous with how the shots are composed and how the scenes are edited together. But you are right that you don't get movies like Spotlight or you know any other kind of reporting movie without this one, because it lays the groundwork so effectively with how the information, the story is gathered, but also making you care about the story. This is a movie about reporters breaking the Watergate scandal, but it's also a movie about people, about paranoia. It's about people learning that not everything is as it seems, and just sort of seeding the distrust that in modern in politics that we see come to fruition a lot of times today. It's really, I think the comparison is very apt for sure.
Yeah. And you mentioned like this was 74, this was 76, I'm sorry.
Right.
6. And at the time of the 70s, that was a big thing. You had the conversation that was I think came before this. I think that came in 1972, I want to say. Um
Right.
with Gene Hackman, another legendary actor just passed away as well. So a lot of that was kind of big at the time. Then you had more kind of where film was going. You had things like Taxi Driver that was out, a more meaner, edgier kind of look at film than it had probably previously been before in the 70s. I mean, yeah, before the 70s there. So that was kind of a big component there, and also just kind of making something like I said, this is not a super flashy movie here. You know, it's just really two guys, you know, doing their job, you know, doing journalism there. And even though they're doing this kind of maybe in somewhat of a, you know, staying in offices and meeting people in these locations, it does such a great job at building this tension, especially when they kind of get closer and closer to the answers that they're looking for. And this had already been a thing. I didn't know that this came from this movie before. And it's the scene there, and we've seen it. This has probably been parodied many, many times before there in shows and movies, things like that. So Robert Redford has a lead that he speaks to. Very unfortunate name that this person this name didn't really age all the best. But he has this informant, this lead he talks to called Deep Throat. There, he talks to them. Now, I didn't know that this came from this movie in terms of just meeting at this dark parking lot and everything like that. These scenes are also really great. This is really tension filled. There, I'll play a little bit of it for people here.
Right.
I wouldn't quote you even as an anonymous source. I mean, you'd be on deep background. You can trust me, you know that. Come on. Can you tell me what you know?
You tell me what you know.
Hunt worked for Colson at the White House. Hunt was investigating Kennedy at Chappaquiddick.
That should tell you a lot.
Yeah,
What else?
and mostly you see him kind of just in shadow and everything like that. So that's kind of a really great scene. Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, all the scenes of the investigation are great. And fun fact about the informant, he was actually given the name because of the unfortunate movie. So kind of funny in hindsight. But yeah, I really just love how this movie was edited and shot, because all the scenes are just very deliberate. They're very slow paced, admittedly, but there's a lot of tension and character between all the actors and dialogue. Even in the scene that you're just showing, you can see how tense and just unwilling to fully trust the other party each of the men are. But you also see just how covered in shadows both men are, metaphorically and physically. And the whole streak of the movie is very naturally lit, and it does a lot of really clever tricks with the lighting and the staging of the scenes that really show a lot about who these characters are, what their thought process is, and what their ultimate revelations are from scene to scene, just with how the movie is composed. And it's really fascinating to watch. I love seeing all that stuff throughout the film.
And another thing about this movie that's also really amazing is the relationship between him and Dustin Hoffman. This buddy kind of contentious relationship, and it's shown greatly here. This is like really where they're first kind of interacting with each other and kind of going back and forth. That I think is really good there. And I'll show it right here.
How's it going? What are you doing? Polishing. You what? Polishing. What's wrong with it?
Nothing. It's good.
Then what are you doing with it?
I'm just helping. It's a little fuzzy.
So watching this movie, Dustin. So that was kind of like I guess his thing back in the day, because it was like this is very like Rain Man ish. I was like, was that just like
Mhm.
okay? That was like his thing back then. Okay, very kind of nervous kind of guy there, speaking very fast. I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, with Dustin Hoffman, that I definitely think that checks out.
I don't think you're saying what you mean.
I know exactly what I mean.
Not here. I can't tell from this whether Hunt works for Colson or Colson works for Hunt.
May I have it, please?
Some of your conclusions
May I
aren't
have
clear. Yes, I'm not looking for a fight.
I'm not looking for a fight either.
I'm just aware of the fact that you've only been here 9 months.
What has that got to do with anything?
Well, I've been in the business since I'm 16.
What are you saying?
Well, I'm trying to tell you that if you'd read mine and then read yours...
May I read yours?
Yeah. I walked by, gave yours a glance. It didn't look right, so I just figured I'd refine it a little. That first paragraph has to have more clarity. The reader's going to understand it. You don't mention Colson's name to the third paragraph. I think mine's better, but you go ahead and read it. If you think yours is better, we'll give yours to the desk. I've got Colson's name up front. He was a White House consultant and nobody knows
Right.
it.
Yours is better.
Yeah. Yeah. Really great scene there. And you see them kind of work together throughout the rest of the movie. And they're always, very contentious sometimes and very kind of maybe sometimes friendly at others. What'd you think about their relationship in the movie?
Their relationship is great. It's very meticulous and professional, but also like a little contentious, like you said, not just when they meet, but also there are several scenes when they're arguing. It's like we have to get confirmation from from this party, and them just arguing about procedure and how to really report this story. But both Hoffman and Redford play off each other very well. And like you said earlier, they both give different energies. Hoffman's a bit more of like a nervous kind of like, but also competent energy, while Redford is much more of like, the broad shoulders kind of, stand your ground kind of guy. But they both play off each other excellently in this.
Yeah, I love the relationship. I love when they also interview people for all these different trying to follow up on these leads, like where does this end up? Follow the money, just trying to trace it all the way back down there. Okay, and they reminded me of the quote in The Wire, which says, if you follow drugs and drug dealers, that's all you're gonna get. But if you follow the money, you don't know where the hell that's gonna take you. And
You follow drugs, you get drug addicts and drug dealers. But you start to follow the money, and you don't know where the fuck it's gonna take you.
then, in that scene where he's talking to him in the parking lot, he's telling them to follow the money because the money's always going to lead you right to the right people there. Um,
And
oh, yeah,
he's
go ahead.
exactly right. That's literally how Watergate unfolded. They just followed the money, and it kept going higher and higher.
Yeah. And then in this, you also, I was watching other review. I was watching Siskel and Ebert there, and they did a review of it, and they mentioned how this, other people are saying this really captured what it was like to be in a newsroom with that feeling. They kind of really captured that really well. And as opposed to kind of other movies, it's a lot of like people, it's like, hey, I just got this big story, and check this out and everything like that. Even when they're on the cusp of doing this, it's still very a measured kind of thing. They have their boss there in it who's on their ass, but kind of on their ass and not in like a Perry White Superman type way, but he's kind of very like what the hell you want me to do with this? You got nobody that will say anything, nobody will go on record, like nobody will give their identity. Like what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Right.
What did you think that feeling of like just being in the newsroom and what that kind of felt like?
So as someone who has never been in a newsroom before, I think this is a very honest look at it, because it's very working class. There's not a lot of like, like you said, hey, I got the big scoop and everything just falls into place. It requires a lot of work. And I really liked how their manager is very, you know, deliberate with everything, where even though he goes for the jugular at points, it's always meaningful. He always wants the story to be rock solid and foolproof, because he knows there's like dire consequences for like, suing newspapers and things like that. But it felt very, very honest, and what I would imagine a newsroom in the time period would be like.
Mm, yeah. Any issues with this movie for you?
It's not really an issue, but I would say movies in the 70s definitely had a slower pace to them than a lot of more contemporary movies, even in the 80s. But there's definitely a slower, more methodical pace to this movie that you have to get used to. But it never really bothered me. But I think I think if you're used to more like snappy dialogue and scene pacing, it might take a little bit of time to get used to. But once the story gets going, it never bothered me. It's just the deliberate pace is definitely something to keep in mind though when watching this.
Hmm. Okay. I was gonna mention that, yeah. Whether or not like is this kind of a older movie that maybe younger audiences could take to. That's why I brought up kind of Spotlight, which is kind of more the modern day version of that. I was thinking like, okay, can you kind of see that and then transition to maybe watching All the President's Men and kind of getting used to it. Um, yeah, some certain I know certain 70s movies, like I said, slower pace in the way they kind of do things. I love the closing shot of the All the President's Men, where again, very quiet moment where you just see like Nixon on a TV, and it's just them still in the background, still just working. I do like that a lot there. And for them, it's just, doesn't seem like I want to take down Nixon because I hate Nixon. It just seems like I just want to break this story because it's the truth. I just want to discover what the actual truth is of this. You go.
And because the story is important. I mean, the American people should know if people in the U.S. government are like effectively spying on their political opponents for like nefarious gain. It's like it's important to them because it's the truth, but also because it's the right thing to do, and that's really refreshing.
Yeah. This movie though, it's in the Library of Congress there, National Film Registry there for being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, which this movie very much is, telling about this event of the Watergate scandal there. Um, this movie as well there won 8 Oscars. There it won as well there. So it really nominated very heavily there. Best actor in a supporting role in this was Jason Roberts there. He won for that performance there in it. Yeah, so highly coveted movie there as well. Let me look at all the Oscars this movie actually won here to just be sure. So it won for best supporting actor. You also had best adapted screenplay as well. You also had best adapted screenplay. Now it was nominated for best director. Who do you think won best director in the
Oh
49?
boy, 76 Oscars. What
It was
movie would?
a big movie,
Okay,
highly quoted, highly remembered,
was
iconic
it
theme song.
theme song?
Not theme song, but score. I'm sorry,
Was it The Sting? Like
not
the
the
director
same.
of The Sting? Okay, this is a bad guess, but I literally got nothing else. The Grease.
Grease. It was Rocky. Rocky and so
Oh,
that won Best Picture that year. Also won Best Directing that year. The director of that movie, so that won. So that beat out that.
okay.
All the President's Men. So big movie there. But yeah. Another thing about this movie as well there, like I said, star Robert Redford, um, legendary actor there, and just about the history of Robert Redford. He co-founded the Sundance Film Festival, so that also was a big thing with his career. That was able to give us a whole new wave of filmmakers through the Sundance Film Festival. So he's very great with that. Climate change is also a good climate change activist as well. They're very cared about the environment and various things like that. But yeah, he left behind a great legacy, great career there. What Robert Redford movie do you think you'll watch next after this one?
It's either gonna be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or my dad's favorite Robert Redford movie, Ordinary People. Both are, you know, one's kind of an action movie and the other is more of a drama, but I want to definitely see more Robert Redford movies because he's a great actor in this film and he was a real good guy in real life. So, I look forward to seeing that for sure.
Mm, yeah. He was nominated 34 times in his career
Whoa.
for various awards there. And he only won 1 Oscar for there. And that's when he won for Best Director for Ordinary People. So he only won 1 Oscar in his career.
Oh, okay. That seems really low, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that as well. So yeah, very much there. So what will be your final thoughts rating for All the President's Men?
My final thoughts are this is a very meticulously crafted movie that is really indicative of the time that it was made and the paranoia around US society in which it was created. Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman are great in their roles, and it's really easy to see why Robert Redford, was a beloved film icon just because he's so good in this film, and the film itself is just really important culturally. It's really important just from a stylistic standpoint, but also just is a great movie in its own right, and it very much deserves all the accolades it gets. This is peak cinema for me. This is great.
I would also give it a peak cinema there. I love the dynamic between Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman there. I love the actual just look at journalism there and how it's being presented in the movie of this long, hard kind of case there. Of them constantly having to follow up with people, and there's people who like, okay, well, I changed my mind. I don't want to go on the regular. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then running into brick walls, and then having to burst through those brick walls to get this all done, and how much work and effort it can take. And it's a lot of them on phone calls and them taking notes and them just talking to people. And I think it's still it does a great job at keeping your interest, even when it's kind of those just kind of mundane type of things. And then even it becomes a more serious note towards the end of the movie, where their lives is like they're potentially like it's like we're possibly getting threatened, like maybe somebody's going to come after us, because of what we're doing. That's also it. So it even ramps up the tension even more with that. There's a great scene in the movie where you have Robert Redford who goes to Dustin Hoffman and he turns on the music, and then he starts typing on the typewriter, and they start speaking to each other through the typewriter. That's like a great scene. Let me see if I can actually find that scene there, because I really love that scene a lot. When they do that. But yeah, that's very impressive as well. And how they're able to do that. I don't think this movie is available on a streaming service. If you have like Max or something like that, I don't think it's available any of those places. You actually have to. I had to just watch it there. I know they released this movie for a limited time in theaters in honor of Robert Redford. So they did do that.
Right.
Did you get a chance to see it in theaters or no?
I did not see it in theaters. I just saw it at home. But yeah, you're definitely, unfortunately, at this time, it's not on a streaming service or free. So you'll have to just rent it from Amazon or your video platform of choice. But it's definitely worth the time and the money, I think, at least.
Yeah. And this is the scene right here that does very, very well, I think. And this is when he gets the information that somebody's coming after you, that your life may be in danger there. And he goes to. Have you ever used a typewriter before?
I have. I learned how to type on a typewriter.
Okay. How was that?
It was cool. I liked it. A bit clunky, but cool.
So they're just kind of talking to each other back and forth here with these messages. I really like this, scene quite a bit for that. I think that's really good. But yeah, 8 nominations there for it. Best Picture, Best Actor in Supporting Role, Best Actress in Supporting Role, Best Director, Best Writing there, Screenplay. Then you also had Best Art Direction, Best Sound, and Best Film Editing there. Ended up winning Best Supporting, ended up winning Best Writing and Best Art Direction, Best Sound, and Best yeah. So that's the ones that end up winning there for it. So
Right.
awesome stuff. So you give it a peek, and I also give it a peek for All the President's Men there.